Man, I'm doing the thumbprint on my phone now. Why haven't I been doing this the whole time, man? I've been having to punch a code in. Okay, y'all, 6 o'clock. Hope all y'all satellite students, virtual students have had a good day and that you're sitting comfortable in a nice spot with your book out in front of you. Hopefully you got something to take notes on, something to write with. Let's wait for the students in the back to respect what we are trying to do here tonight. They still don't. All right, y'all, let's go. Can't even be a fake smart aleck. All right, here we go. Page 115. You'll see, I think, why I went out of turn. When I talk about the paperwork when you don't understand the concept, so I pulled the concept out between the two bookends that are just. But hey, these are two importance classes. Unit 8, Real Estate Brokerage, page 115, our learning objectives. We're going to describe the fundamentals of real estate brokerage and licensing laws. See, this is more relative to what you're going to be doing in the streets than any of the other stuff in the book, honestly. We're going to describe the purpose and basic elements of antitrust laws that include price fixing, boycotting, allocation of markets. We're going to discuss services provided to practitioners by other professional organizations, kind of like the Realtor organization. We're going to talk about how technology can be utilized in the real estate business. Y'all want to start out by telling y'all a little story? Here we go. Are y'all through back there? There was a man who was retired, him and his wife, lived in southwest Georgia. In fact, he was a retired minister. He had about 10, 15 acres. It was just him and his wife, a little house and some property cleared out. They didn't really use the other property. Just by coincidence, on the back corner of his property, he grew the best watermelons in the county. And, sometimes you ain't got nothing to do with it. It's just the soil, kind of like the Vidalia onions, You ain't got nothing to do with it, just the soil. But by God, he grew the best, the sweetest, and the biggest watermelons in the county. He was retired. He didn't really need money, so he wasn't going to go to the effort to truck them up to the farmer's market and sell them. But, he'd go out there and get the biggest and prettiest one and give it to somebody new to church, somebody who just moved into town, they brand new. But the last 3 weeks, he'd gone down there. He'd always had his eyes on the next watermelon he was going to get, but he'd show up and it'd be gone. So it was a mystery in his mind for about a month. He was like, who is taking my best watermelon? Then he figured out who it was. The back corner of his property was a shortcut to a creek that had a tire swing. And there was a little crew of about 14-year-old boys that lived near him. And he said, they cutting back through my corner, heading to that creek, and they grabbing them a watermelon on the way to the creek. Have a big day. How can you get mad at some 14-year-olds taking a damn watermelon to the creek? You can't get mad at that. But he thought, I don't want him to keep taking my best watermelon. So he was trying to figure out a way to keep him from taking his best watermelon without, being mean. So he put a sign up in the middle of the watermelon patch that said, one of these watermelons has been poisoned. He walked back to the house, see if Mama had lunch on the table, smiling the whole way, thinking, that'll get him. He showed up the next day. His sign had been replaced with a new sign that said, now 2 of these watermelons have been poisoned. What's wrong with y'all? That's just a cute country story y'all don't get. Do I got to keep telling my funny damn stories? Man. The kids were trying to fool him.
Yeah, we did.
It's just meant to be cute, not get a damn stone face. Here we go, page 116. So, as you would imagine, this chapter is going to involve a lot of rules, regs, and laws because, kind of like you've heard me compare this to driving. 98% of driving laws are the same from state to state. Every now and then, you'll find out a state don't criminalize texting and driving, or some states you can't turn right on red, but majority of them the same laws. Same in real estate, but there are some differences, and sometimes the differences are significant. But 98% of the game is played in the same way nationwide. Top of page 117, we talked about this our very first night together, that more so than calling ourselves salespeople, we're brokers. We introduce buyers and sellers, and we get paid monies for being the go-between. We're business cupids. Brokerage is simply the business of bringing parties together. Again, if I'm in property management, what am I doing? Introducing tenants to the properties that I'm managing. So we're really more brokers than we are salespeople. Highlight the first sentence in the next paragraph, or I can't even get my words out. Highlight the top two sentences of the second paragraph. It begins, a licensed brokerage business may take many forms. I will continue to read while you highlight. As permitted by state law. It could be a sole proprietorship, that is one owner. Could be a corporation, might be an LLC, could be a partnership with another broker. The business may be independent of other businesses, or it could be a part of a regional or national franchise. Realty South, some of y'all may have heard of them. They're the largest company in the state. They are not a franchise. There may be some Realty Souths in other states. There have been before. I'm not sure if there still are. I think there was a couple in the panhandle of Florida at one time. I don't know. I don't keep up with them. But they are not a franchise. They are all, owned by the same company that hire managers for the individual branches. But, Century 21's, Coldwell Bankers, Remaxes, Keller Williams, Exits, ERAs, Weicherts. Those are all realty executives. Those are all national franchises, just like Holiday Inns are franchises, just like Subways are franchises. Subway is not in charge of all the individual subways. The owners are in charge of all the individual subways. Same in real estate. I don't think it really makes a difference who you go work for. Frankly, back in the day, there was a difference. If you went to work with a national franchise, you might have some systems, if you will, that didn't exist at small mom and pops. But now with the internet, we all have access to the same stuff. So national franchises don't have the allure that they did 30 years ago over a mom and pop, frankly. Bottom of page 117. Relationship of broker and sales associates. Understand that what I'm about to talk about has not ever been a decision that was made within our industry. It just became the custom that we are independent contractors. Now, guys, again, I'm going to make one more point. I've made it to you already, but I'll make it again. I know not everybody listening to me is going into residential sales. I know some of you are going into commercial real estate. Some of you are investors, and you just want a license to help make you some side money if the property's listed that you're buying. Some of you are just going to be in raw land. Some of you are going to be in property management. But statistically, the majority of you nationwide in pre-licensing courses are in it to sell residential real estate. So that's why all this info is geared in that direction, fair or unfair. So I said all of that as a preface to talk about what's at the bottom of page 117. The custom in our industry, and this is a nationwide custom, is that we are not employed as salespeople. We are contracted with. We're 1099, which makes us autonomous. There's a reason they call it independent contractor. You are your own person. But like I said, That has not been a decision that the National Association of Realtors decided, that anybody in any state decided. That would be an antitrust violation if that were so. Again, it just happens to be the custom. But there are real estate companies that employ salespeople. I told y'all I convene. I don't as much in the last few years, but I go to my annual convention. I went to 3 or 4 a year. I met good people. I learned about how they do things around the other parts of the country. I've gotten referral fees from people I've met around the country. But it's kind of like our Hollywood. You know, a lot of the national sales trainers that are real big to do trainers in real estate, they ain't coming to Birmingham, but they'll go to the national convention. And it's a good time to hear somebody that you've read all their books, you know. But I say all of that to say that I was in San Antonio for a realtor conference. And after all our classes were over, around 3:30 or 4, I'm bellied up at a high table in a bar getting drinks like all the other conventioners. And I'm sitting with 3 gals. They're all a little older than me. And son of a gun, one of the women sitting across the table with me was in fact a real estate commissioner from the state of Kentucky. But most commissioners either own a company while they're a commissioner or they've owned a company in the past. That's their experience, real estate. Hence, they're becoming a real estate commissioner. So this woman owned a company, and we're having small talk. And somehow she let something slip out of her mouth that indicated she employed her people. She didn't mean to make it a point. I don't know if she was talking directly at me, but I heard what she said, and I said, "Stop. Are you trying to tell me you employ salespeople W-2, salary?" She said, "Yes." I said, "You are a unicorn. I've never seen one of you. I've seen pictures of you in books, but I've never seen one of you in real life." I was thrown back. I was amazed. We had a long conversation. Because before I continue with this conversation that I had with this woman, understand that there's a lot of psychology in why some people cannot go into 100% commission sales. Because they can't deal with the uncertainty of when they're going to get paid next. I know people that would make buku money selling real estate because of their skill set. But they can't. They've been friends of mine for years, and they say, "Mark, I got to have a check every Friday." Fair or unfair, that's just me. So yeah, there's a lot of talented salespeople that cannot come into the real estate business because of the 100% commission structure. They could be 35, 40-year-old men who have a family, have 3 children, and they know their skill set and they know they could make the money, but their life is set up to where they need about $6,000 every month to pay the bills. And if they can't take 90 days to wait on their first commission check, that's fair too. But there's a lot of talent sitting on the side that cannot come into the real estate business for these various reasons. So she told me, she said, "Mark, you know, I understood that from the beginning. It was an experiment, but I've been doing it now for about 15 years, and it's been successful." I said, "Do any of your people sell an amount of real estate that where if they were on a split arrangement, they would make more than they do with you on a salary?" She said, 75% of them. I said, "They know that?" She said, "Yeah. But they choose to stay with me." I said, "Do you have bonuses if they meet certain production plateaus?" And so she said, "Certainly, just like in any sales job. You're a dynamic copier salesman. You sell 20 damn copiers at some point, I'm going to give you a little bonus at the end of the year." I was blown away. And to date, and this is my 35th year in the business. That's the only person I have ever met that was alive that I could touch that has done this employed. Now, I've only read about the fact that there are other unicorns like her out there, but I don't think you can look for it. I don't think you can expect to find it, frankly. If you happen upon it, consider yourself lucky if that's what you would prefer. But yeah, most of us independent contractor. So here's something I want you to highlight. On page 118, if you haven't turned, go ahead and turn. Third paragraph down, look at the second line, highlight these 7 words: can receive compensation only from that broker. Third paragraph down from the top of page 118, on the second line, highlight these words: can receive compensation only from that broker. You will never, ever get paid by a buyer. You will never get paid by a seller. You will never get paid by another company in a cooperating situation. If you are ever deserving of any monies, your company's name better be in the left corner of the check. Because if it's not, then you are breaking the law in some way. There could be a question on the exam. In fact, I think I had this question on my exam. That I told my buyer's agent, there's no way in hell you'll be able to find the house that my wife wants. But son of a gun if they don't in 2 days. And I look at my buyer's agent and I go, my gosh. I told my wife she's crazy as a bat. No, this house doesn't exist in the real world, only fantasy. And I'll be damned if you didn't find it in 2 days. I feel like I want to give you a tip, like you give a server at a restaurant. You went above and beyond, man, your skills. Can I give you a bonus? The answer is yes and no. Yes, I can get a bonus, but it's got to be paid to my broker, who then pays me. Because again, kind of, sort of, we're invisible in the eyes of the law, licensees. The broker is who's representing the public. The broker is who's to be compensated for providing those services. It just so happens that our industry allows the broker to hire little helpers, called us, salesmen, licensees, and they can share some of what they make with us. Now, I'm a broker. I have to be a broker to own the company, but you're a licensee. And we'll talk about this next in 2 weeks. The first opportunity for you to become a broker will be in 2 years, if that's something you desire. If you want to not have to work underneath someone's umbrella, if you want to be your own shop, have a little 300 square foot office in a building much like we're in right now. But at the bottom of page 118, independent contractor versus employee. I've only been employed 2 or 3 times in my life, and they were when I was young. I was employed by Wendy's for 3 days. I was in charge of fries. I was employed by Shoney's. I was a busboy at Shoney's for 1.5 years. Busboy of the year, damn it. And then I was employed by the government when I served my country. But other than that, I have always worked for myself. And I've always been appreciative of that, never taken it for granted. I remember one time at a family gathering, we had found out that an uncle of ours had died, and the funeral was going to be in Texas. And it was my first cousin's favorite uncle of all our uncles. And she couldn't go to the funeral because her boss would not let her off. She had vacation days, but he needed her that day. There are some people that can't do such things. If my uncle dies and he's my favorite uncle and they're burying him in Houston and I want to go, you know what I do? I go look for my damn keys. I get in the car and go. There's a lot of power in that. Some of you have worked for yourself. You understand what I'm talking about. You've enjoyed that autonomy. Some of you have been clocker inners, clocker outers, 8:30 to 5. But that's the main thing I've always appreciated about the real estate industry is the ability to be autonomous, to be an independent contractor. Every minute of every hour is in the palm of my hand because it belongs to me. I remember driving down the road with a friend of mine heading to Tuscaloosa to watch Alabama play a basketball game. He said, oh, hell, I better slow down. I'm speeding. I can't get a ticket. I lost my driver's license. I said, would you lose your driver's license? He said, I was running around with a friend Friday night from bar to bar, and I must have left it in one. I can't find it. I said, well, go to DMV. He said, man, it was October at this time, November, I think. He said, Mark, I've used all my sick days, all my personal days, and all my vacation days. And I thought, a trip to the DMV is a dilemma for my friend. Again, what do I do when I got to go to the DMV? I look for my keys. I don't need permission from somebody. And you know what? That wears on you for years, having to have somebody's permission. It changes your person when you're the one making decisions for yourself, especially when you start doing it from a young age. I love seeing young cats come into the business now. When I came into the business, it was a second chance for older people. If you got laid off at work, or you'd try real estate, it was a last resort, But now you see 22, 23, 21-year-olds coming in. They're full of creativity and ingenuity. They bring in fresh ideas in. It's a good thing. But the independent contractor has been more valuable to me than being in the real estate industry. It just so happens the real estate industry is what I jumped into to experience it. But, let's talk about it. I kind of want to get you to think about why you're doing this. One of the beautiful things about America is the promise, the opportunity of entrepreneurship, the ability to be your own person, make your own money, and become wildly successful in some instances. But entrepreneurial, or at least the exploration of entrepreneurship can be very risky, and it can cost you a lot of money and a lot of pride and ego. Because do you know, out of 10 new businesses that start, how many last 1 year? 1 out of 10. 9 out of 10 businesses fail in year one. And for the one that makes it into year two, do you know how many of them fail in year two? 9 out of those 10. So the odds are against you. What if I get canned? What if I give my boss at the manufacturing plant I work at, I give him the finger one day. I was hungover and he was on my nerves. So yeah, I give him the finger. So I come home, with all my stuff out of my locker. Tell my wife, she goes, "Oh, great. You don't have a backup plan, do you, dummy?" I think, oh, damn, she's right. So I get on jobs near me, get on the internet, and boom, a light bulb pops up over my head. I think, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to open me up a clothing store. Because see, my grandparents had a children's clothing store when I was a kid. When I was 9 years old, they started letting me earn some folding money by, unloading boxes, folding stuff. And then as I got older, they taught me how to use the cash register. And I always enjoyed that. And I'll lose my grandparents and I grow up and get that manufacturing job. But you know what? Deep down, I've always felt like I had a knack for it. I was drawn. I did good at it. Come naturally to me. So I tell my old ass, I'm going to open up a children's clothing store. So let's do that real quick in our mind. I got to have a place, right? Am I going to choose a freestanding building? Place in a shopping center? Place in a mall? I don't know. It's a decision. It's got to be made. What if I choose a shopping center? You ever notice all the stores in a shopping center got their own little sign above their business? You know how much some signs cost? Yeah, 15, 20, 25,000. And then once I find my location, I got to have all the stuff in the store. I got to have all the racks, and all the shelving and the hangers and the security things you click up on there, and a cash register and a computer in the back with some software for inventory. Probably got to hire 1 or 2 youngsters. And if I don't have a lot of money, I better have good credit because I got to have crap to sell. I got to have some inventory. And then I got to advertise, right? I mean, I can't just hope to God people intuitively or, like a psychic know that I exist now. No, so am I going to choose radio, television, maybe a spot in a magazine or a newspaper, maybe a 4x4 ad in the back of my child's yearbook. Maybe I can get a billboard on the back of on the high school outfield fence. They selling it to small businesses, mom and pops. You hear me spending money this whole time? In that first year, I probably worked 80 hours a week. Why? cut down on payroll because they ain't got enough, or to show up because them punks I hired ain't showing up. And I'll be damned, what are the odds are that I survive after year one? Slim. Entrepreneurship is a beautiful dream, but it's costly and it's risky. But real estate, once you get a license, you're going to go work in a building that somebody else pays for. And you're going to use a phone that somebody else paid for. And you're going to use a copy machine that somebody else paid for. And you're going to let the company do all the advertising so you don't have to do it. All your advertising is free, social media. All the inventory, homes for sale. You're going to get to experience entrepreneurship without the damn risk. I don't know if you've realized that. I'm just trying to tell you to keep these 10 weeks a priority in your life. It's not a 4-year degree that's $80,000. You've got less than $500 invested at this point, and it's just a few weeks. Pour yourself into it, knock this damn thing out, and head on with your adult life. So I'm going to get off my soapbox. At the bottom of page 119, real estate assistant. This is a fairly modern concept. I would say assistants have been around for about 25 years. I remember my dad, coincidentally, my father was in the real estate business. Me and my father weren't very close. It's coincidence pure that I'm in the business. But I remember him telling me when he sold in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, he said, son, I got to sell real estate 20 hours a week. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have pagers. We didn't have fax machines. I spent half of the week, 20 hours, going to pick up and drop off crap. Because I don't know if you've ever seen a real estate transactions file. It's about that thick. I got to go to the title insurance company, get the prelim, got to go to the homeowners, get the policy, got to drive across, get the plat, got to go here, got to go there, got to pick up the buyer, meet them at the, take them to the property. And back then, we toted people around. You didn't meet them at the damn property. So you had to keep your car clean, end up having to take them and the heathen kids to Mickey D's and buy them damn lunch. It was a different day. But every little nifty, newfangled idea, he said, would just give us 5 more hours. So he said, a real estate assistant. Let's say I'm a top producer. I'm the ringer at this office. I'm hitting a proverbial ceiling. They're not going to make a longer day. So can you see where you can get to a point where I cannot sell more real estate until they make a longer day? But boom, I hire me a real estate assistant. They're going to stay in the office and handle my admin stuff. They're going to make copies, return emails, put signs up in yards, return phone calls, make copies, flyers for me. You know what I mean? And all that gives me about 5 to 10 extra hours a week. So by hiring a real estate assistant, it raised the proverbial ceiling, allowing me to make more money. Turn the page. I want you to look at the second paragraph on page 120 and highlight the second sentence. It's a long one, but highlight the second sentence. I've been told this is on the exam. Halfway down page 120, you see broker's compensation. 1, 2, 3. At the end of the 4th line, I want you to highlight the sentence that reads, the amount of a broker's commission is negotiable in every case. It's actually the 5th sentence, but it begins at the end of the 4th line. The amount of a broker's commission is negotiable in every case. Like I said, the industry, we're going to talk about antitrust, coincidentally. It's in keeping with the subject matter. Competitors within an industry, guys, in case you're not aware, are not allowed to establish how much they sell stuff for or what they charge for their services. Like every plumber in Alabama couldn't get together and say, we're all going to charge $32 an hour. That's antitrust. Because what does that do? Remove competition. Didn't we agree that competition is good in a supply and demand economy? Yeah, I want people fighting for my business. That drives quality up, price down. But when you got every damn plumber in the industry deciding to charge the same thing, there's no incentive for me to choose one plumber over another. There's no incentive for them to do a good job for me because they know, what am I going to get if I go elsewhere? Not much better. So you can see the thinking right here. We're trying to set up the antitrust conversation that's going to follow all of this. The next paragraph, highlight the first sentence. The broker's compensation will also be affected by the participation in the transaction of a broker from another firm. We've already had that conversation last week about the cooperating. You know, we didn't used to always show other companies' listings. That wasn't always around in our business. And then in the early 60s, we thought, why in the hell aren't we showing each other's listings? We'll just split the commission. Just makes sense. But you need to know that my compensation from the seller could be affected by a share arrangement that I have per MLS cooperation with another company. Highlight the first sentence of the next paragraph. A commission is considered earned when the work for which the real estate broker was hired has been accomplished. And guys, I think I told you last week, we're not hired to sell the real estate. We're hired to procure a ready, willing, and able buyer. And when that ready, willing, and able buyer makes a full price, unconditional offer, we have earned our compensation. Now, going back up to the previous paragraph where you highlighted that broker's compensation will also be affected. If I'm a realtor and I'm a member of the MLS, not everybody that sells real estate is a realtor, and not everybody that sells real estate is a member of MLS. The majority of them are. But if I am a realtor and I am a member of the MLS and I get a new listing and I go into the MLS to input that information, there is a share field. I forget what they call it, but it's how much I'm willing to give away. Like I may take a 6% listing, and on that field in the MLS form, I put I'm willing to give away 3%. What am I willing to give away? Half of that. You see that? Or it could say I'm only willing to give away 2. I took a 6% listing, but I'm only giving away 2. I can share whatever amount of whatever I'm charging the seller. I can share whatever I want. The only thing is you have to understand, fair or unfair, we live in a normal world. If I take a 6% commission and only give away 1, is that going to affect how many people show my property? I don't know. Do these people not know what I do for a living? So just a second ago, I made a point that we're not hired to sell real estate. We're hired to procure a ready, willing, and able buyer. And if they make a full price and unconditional offer, if they turn it down, could I sue them for a commission? Yes, I could. Now, guys, 35 years, I told you, I've been doing this. I have never been a part of a transaction or a part of a company that sued a seller for refusing to accept a full price offer. A lot of times we consider that the cost of doing business, because in residential real estate, people make decisions based on emotions more than numbers. I've taken a listing before and presented an offer, and the seller told me, Mark, me and the kids and the wife, we got to packing up stuff, and we broke down a box of pictures from up on the closet and the shelf, and we rifling through them, looking at the kids learning how to walk in this den and learning how to swing on the swing set 10 years ago. We decided we ain't moving, crying and stuff. How am I going to sue them? This ain't commercial real estate where people make, business decisions based on numbers. And they're uptight. They got briefcases, attorneys on retainer, they wear suits. We regular people. We red, white, and blue mamas and daddies. We youngins in school and playing sports. And so we don't sue, but we need to understand for things to get questions right on the exam. I need to provide 3 things in the court of law if I'm suing for a commission. 3 things in a court of law. And guys, after I go over the 3, you're going to think, well, that's fairly logical. That shouldn't be difficult to remember. The first thing, look at the first bullet at the bottom of page 120. I'd have to prove to the judge I had a real estate license at the time. If I didn't, I couldn't be suing for a commission. So that's a very logical requirement of the courts. If you're suing for a commission, prove to me you had a real estate license. Top of page 121. Guys, I don't know if you know this, but you can't sue anybody for a questionable amount of money. You have to sue them for a specific amount of money. So I must show them my listing agreement. It says right there, employed by the buyer or seller under a valid contract. I'd have to show that contract to the judge. Why? Because by God, in that contract, the seller promised to pay me so much money. And that's why I'm suing them for that much money, Your Honor. So that's a logical requirement by the courts. Show me your agreement with the owner. And then the third one, I got to prove to the courts I was the procuring cause. Now, you may be thinking, I'm not completely sure of what the procuring cause is. Fantastic. Read the entire next paragraph quietly to yourself as it defines what procuring is. In other words, I don't have to be the one that takes them over the threshold. But if I put a billboard up and that made you call the number and then you get in the call with an agent and then you find yourself in the house, I started that chain of events. That is all you got to do to be the procuring cause. So we went over the three things. Again, fairly understandable. Got to prove I had a license, got to show them a listing agreement, and then I got to prove I was the procuring cause. It's reasonable. Now, also, when I'm suing for a commission, they address this in the very next paragraph. Didn't I just say my job is to procure a ready, willing, and able buyer? Yeah. You know what the courts are going to make me prove? Prove to me, Mr. Yarbrough, that they were ready, that they were willing, and that they were able. So I've had a student I get the hiccups. I've had a student tell me, and I got a yawn coming on. What an inappropriate time for a yawn. But I've had a student tell me there's a scenario where the agent is suing for a commission and they can't prove the buyer was able. How could you prove how could a buyer prove they're able? Either I had the ability to get financing or I had the purchase price in cash in the bank. If I don't have the ability to get financing because I got bad credit or bad job history, whatever, or I don't have that purchase price in the bank, I'm not able. I can't prove I'm able. That's what I'm hearing on the exam. That there's a question on the exam where you're suing for a commission and you can't prove they were able. So you can anticipate that. Second half of the page. Again, got sales associates compensation. I told you that the custom nationwide is that we are 100% commission and that our compensation is usually described as a split. You know, you'll hear agents now, what do you make? Well, I make a 60-40 split. What do you make? Well, I make a 70-30 split, Whenever you hear that, salesman gets that, company gets that. Salesman gets that, company gets that. Now, you may think, why would somebody work for a 60-40 instead of a 70-30? Because 60% of something's better than 70% of nothing. And there are some companies that offer 70%, and I wouldn't work there to save my life. You work in some real estate companies, you think you just walked into a damn memorial. They got the elevator music down low. It almost smells like you in a funeral home. People ain't looking up. They sitting at there, and it's dark. No, when I walk in a room, I want eyes. I want people walking around, smoke coming off the copy machine. Somebody coming up, can I help you, sir? I need to be motivated, damn it. I need a palpable level of energy. And a lot of times when somebody's offering a bigger split than other companies, they're desperate. And why would a company be desperate? Because they ain't fun to work for. Now, I ain't trying to say that's a clue that they're desperate because they offer a high split. It may be a worthy company. I'm just trying to tell you, Now look at second half of page 121. Sales associates compensation. I told you I stumbled upon a unicorn. I doubt you'll ever stumble upon that same unicorn. But yep, I've been proved there is a possibility to employ salespeople. But most people get a split. Don't get me wrong, you'll start out at the beginning of the year with a share arrangement or a split, whatever they want to call it. And then some companies will have production plateaus that if the unit sold, if you will, reaches a certain plateau, your split will actually go up. I might start out on a 60-40, but if I hit this plateau, it goes to 65-35. And maybe I hit this plateau and it goes to 70-30. And hit this plateau, it goes to 80-20. You can get to 100% in some companies. You can plateau out early. But look at that second paragraph. Under sales associates compensation, some firms have adopted a 100% commission plan. This has become more common than not now. So let me tell you the story behind the 100%. I only know this because an old man told me. I don't know why I just checked my phone. I'm sorry. But 1973, I believe, I don't know why that year hangs in my mind because I may be wrong, but 1973, I believe, is when RE/MAX began. And when RE/MAX began, they were a novel concept. They were going to change the business model. They were going to give 100% of the commission to the salesperson. But the salesperson had to pay rent, monthly rent, to have a place at the company. So I'm just going to use a mathematical example. So let's say I'm RE/MAX and I say, you want to come and work for me? You got to pay $2,000 a month rent, Mark. Whether you sell real estate or not, you owe me $2,000. But guys, I don't know how good you are at math, but even if you're bad at math, as you would imagine, at some point on a production scale, it makes more sense to pay $2,000 a month and get 100% than it does to make a 70-30. Do y'all understand that? So what would happen is RE/MAX would come to town. This is in the early 70s. And all the top producers at every company in that town would leave their company and go work with RE/MAX. So there was a lot of animosity. There's still a little animosity amongst the old timers. They still don't like RE/MAX, some of them. But yeah, there was a lot of animosity. People hated RE/MAX because they stole all the top producers. And usually, guys, I'm going to tell you this. 20% of the agents in an office help that office pay the bills. 80% of agents in any given office in the United States statistically closes less than 4 deals a year. So in other words, the broker makes sure that their top 3 or 4 agents is taking their multivitamin every day. Because if they go down, I start, oh, hell. Are we going to pay this month's bills? Well, that's what the company's lost. Their top 20%. The people they relied on to pay the bills would leave and go to the other company. They were desperate. Oh, my God. So to stop this cycle, to avoid losing their top producing agents, what did every company have to begin doing? Offering the 100% concept as an alternative to their traditional arrangement. They didn't want to leave you. So you'd go work for them and say, well, here's our arrangement, but don't go to RE/MAX. We got that one too if you want that one. And then from what I understand, in the early 90s, RE/MAX started offering splits as an alternative to their 100% arrangement. Now they're all real estate companies are like convenience stores. They all sell the same crap. I don't care what a company's payment arrangement is. If you walk in and they see value in you, like, oh my God, this kid's sharp. He's talking the game. I can tell he's a go-getter. Man, whatever payment arrangement you come up with, they'll take. If they see talent walking in the door, they'll give you what you want, my God. I say that carefully. Companies have to make money, but companies recognize talent. So just because you see a compensation model at this company and that's who you wanted to work for, Don't be dismayed and go elsewhere. Present what you would like to have at that company. They'll more than likely they'll bend a little. Another reminder for a point we've already established tonight. Look at the very bottom of page 121. Look at the first sentence in that last paragraph. No matter how the sales highlighted, no matter how the sales associate's compensation is structured, as a rule, only their broker can pay it. Let's turn the page. So on page 122, you see a scenario, which is much similar to a math question you will have on the exam. Of your 10 math questions, I believe, based on feedback that I get from other students, 4 of your 10 math questions will be similar to this math concept example. And you remember where we did the tree? On the whiteboard, the 12 commission paid, and you split it per the share arrangement, and then you work it down. If you can get those, man, you're going to get 4 out of the 10. You're going to get 4 out of the 10. So look up at the top of page 123. That first set of bullets, first 6 bullets. That's, right now, I know you're brand new. You're not even brand new. You're in the process of getting brand new. But I know people who've been in the business 10 years wouldn't know how to answer the question. If they went into someone's living room for a listing presentation and the seller said, would you sit back and give to me in bullet form the individual services that you will provide while trying to earn your commission? People would be like, we tote people around, show it, put a sign in the yard, and you're going to charge me 6% for that? There's 6 bullets right up there. So if a seller ever asks, so what all is involved in when y'all list property? If you could repeat those statements, you think that makes you look like a better real estate professional than most knuckleheads? Yeah. Well, we can perform a CMA, ma'am, to assist you in pricing your property. We could assist marketing the property using MLS. I used to call them for sale by owners. And I see a for sale by owner in a 60-home subdivision. Got a for sale by owner sign in the yard. I go knock on the door. And I said, for whatever reason you've decided to do this yourself, I got to respect. Some people are doing it because they short financially and they need to save paying a commission. Some people are doing it because they're dissatisfied with the actions of their previous real estate agent. And if that happens to be you, I just want to tell you how silly your efforts are. I believe there's 52 other homes in this subdivision. You have a for sale by owner sign. Do you know who you're marketing your property to? People that live in this subdivision. Whereas I'm a member of the MLS, where there are 3,800 others like me. And you know what their job is? To sell homes. Wouldn't you like to introduce your property to those 3,800 salespeople? Gee whiz, Mr. Yarber, I never thought about it like that. But yeah, the more you can talk the talk, the more impressive you are. You don't want people to rely on your looks if you think you're good looking. You don't want people to rely on your clothes if you think you're a sharp dresser. You don't want people to just rely on your gift of gab. But when you put all 3 together, damn. Let's turn the page. Antitrust laws. Again, antitrust laws was for the purpose of protecting our means of doing things the way we do in America. There ain't another country in the world with 1 million people a month coming through. Not one. There's a reason people trying to get in this country. Why am I turning into an old man? I served the war. That's what it will be. Price fixing. Okay. It was around, again, I don't know how much education you got, if this was interesting to you when you was in school, but around the turn of the century, and when I say the turn, not this most previous turn, but the 1900 turn, our major industries in the United States were getting monopolized. The steel industry, the railroad industry, the shipping industry, the oil industry. You know, you had the Carnegies with the old Standard Oil. You had the J.P. Getty in the banking. You had Roosevelt. Who are other people? Gosh, I can't remember. I'm starting to remember all who to play. The Vanderbilt was in shipping and railroad. And you know what monopoly is, right? You ain't got a choice. I have rental properties, and I have my house. I've had more rental properties than I do now. But, you know, you got these little sub-accounts under your primary account, and sometimes you got a property that's empty, there's no tenant in it, and I might have a $16 power bill, and I don't pay it, and they cut off my damn house. Y'all, I do use this as therapy. I get a lot off my chest. But I call Alabama Power and raise hell and have to tell them the same story. You can't cut my primary account off because I got an empty rental property with a $16 power bill. And, you know, there's been a few times when I was younger and didn't care, I cursed them out. But I don't know why I cursed them out, because I ain't going to get nothing. They ain't going to give me nothing, because I can't say, I'm taking my business down to Billy's Power. They know they ain't got that threat. That's what a monopoly is. Me cursing probably just made me feel better, but I couldn't use the leverage. I'm going to take my business elsewhere. So in 1910, if I had something shipped from New York to California and it gets there 2 years late and in about 150 different pieces, but one company owns 98% of the railroads in the United States, do you see the dilemma I'm in? I can't take my business elsewhere. So all of our major industries were being monopolized. Every one of them, railroad, shipping. You heard me rattle them off. This was at a critical juncture for America. So they come up with the Sherman antitrust laws meant to protect the supply and demand. So price fixing became a crime. First of all, the original Sherman antitrust laws was illegal to become a monopoly. So now you'll see the federal government, when they see a player in an industry carrying too much weight, they'll threaten them with antitrust. They'll make them break up into smaller companies. See, guys, AT&T was a huge monopoly in the 30s and 40s, and they made them split up in the 50s into what? In the Bells. You had South Central Bell, Southwest Bell. They made AT&T split up, and all the Bells competed with each other. Why in the hell they allowed AT&T to form back, I have no idea. I think they're bigger than they ever have been. They got a bigger footprint on the United States than they ever did. But so the prevention of the formation of a monopoly was the focus of the Sherman Antitrust Act. Price fixing became illegal. Let's say McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's and Arby's, you know, I would call them Hardee's. They're probably the four biggest hamburger joints. They all have a secret meeting. And they tell each other, will you quit coming up with a new damn burger every month? You got the rodeo burger 1 month, you got this burger 1 month, and then you got a multi-million-dollar marketing campaign pushing your new damn burger or your new sauce. And then we got to compete with that. As soon as you come up with something new, we got to come up with something new and then pay some fancy marketing company millions of dollars to promote our crap. He said, let's just all make the same damn burger. Same weight patty, same buns, make it the same way. We'll save millions competing with each other and on marketing campaigns. That is an agreement amongst them that we don't benefit from, do we? They benefit. I need to have the choice of having a big burger, a taco burger, an Italian burger, a huge burger, tiny burger. That's the beauty of America, the choice. So that would be antitrust. If those four players got caught having a secret meeting, a conspiracy, a collusion, that's antitrust. Group boycott. Let's say Hardee's, Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King. They in a conference room one day, you know, and they got that conference phone right there in the middle of the conference table. And let's say all four of them buy meat from the same meat company. And they call it a meat company. And they got them on speakerphone. Meat company even say, you got me on speakerphone? I do, says Mr. McDonald's. So in fact, I'm sitting in here with Wendy's and Hardee's and Burger King. And the meat guy's like, oh my God, we haven't done anything wrong, have we? Y'all ain't mad at us, are you? No, we ain't mad. But we decided today we ain't going to buy meat from you unless you stop selling meat to anybody other than us that makes hamburgers. Done. The hamburger company says, we'll cut them off today. We won't stay in bed with you, okay? That is them group boycotting. That is multiple competitors coming in and using the leverage to shut out other competition, which is not good for the consumer in America. We need healthy, competitive market. So group boycott is illegal. Allocation of customers or markets. You know, Lowe's and Home Depot, you'll notice they're within a mile of each other. Always. Walmart, Publix, within a mile of each other. It is better to be closer to your competition than to be far away from them. And that's almost the opposite of what your logical brain wants to think. But let's say Home Depot and Lowe's, they have a secret meeting. And Home Depot tells Lowe's, will you quit building damn stores? Every time you build a store, I got to find some property a mile away and build another damn store just to compete with you. Let's just cut every town in the United States up, and Lowe's, you take the south side of every town, I'll take the north side of every town. Guys, trust me, we don't benefit from that. Because if I live on the north side of town, but I prefer Home Depot, I ain't driving 45 minutes. I'll just do business with Lowe's and grit my teeth the whole time. I'm not getting my choice as a consumer. So again, all of these are illegal. You will have an antitrust question. But the key is competitors have to conspire. Here's what I've heard as a question on the exam. That I own Mark Yarbrough Real Estate, and I have 4 people that work for me, Mary, Nancy, Tom, and Bill. I give Mary the south side of the town. I give Nancy the north side of the town. I give Bill the west side of the town, and I give whoever the other 4th dude was the other side of town. Is this an antitrust violation? No. I can allocate my reps in a company. Competitors can't allocate a town. You see what I'm saying? Competitors. That's the key. Competitors. Now, I don't know if some of y'all are old enough to remember, but in the mid to late 90s, the government was suing Microsoft and Bill Gates for antitrust. Because Bill Gates, Microsoft would not you could use anybody that was putting together computers and they wanted to use the Windows operating system. No, I'm saying it wrong. If you wanted to buy a Microsoft computer, you had no choice. You had to use the Windows operating system. They would not let you use a competing operating system. So they pursued them, and I don't know what the result was. They won. The government won. And for a minute or two, you saw some competing operating systems. But are there any now? What are some competing operating? Linux is one that's been around for a minute. Yeah. They're now owned by Microsoft. I'll be damned. So here's what I've been told the question on the exam. More often than not, who pursues someone for antitrust violations is the federal government. Okay. But let me give you an instance. What if I'm a contractor? I do anything. I frame, whatever. And Birmingham Metro is spread the hell out. It's 6 different counties. So I'm not married to Home Depot or Lowe's. I go to whichever's closest when I'm on that side of town working and I need to go get some stuff. And occasionally I use Ace Hardware and Marvin's if they're the ones closer. But over about 3 years, I began noticing they all 4 charging the same thing for a hammer. Ace, Marvin's, Home Depot, and Lowe's. I've just picked up on it. And now I'm studying it. I'm taking notes in a notebook. They're charging the same damn thing for a hammer. Have been now for 2 years. I don't know if there's any antitrust, but I decide to be a whistleblower and call the government. So look on page 125 down toward the bottom, not the last, but the next to last paragraph where it says penalties. Go to the third line in that paragraph. Go to the end of the line and highlight the sentence that begins, an individual who has suffered a loss. Highlight that sentence. Again, bottom of page 125, not the last paragraph, but the next to last paragraph. Find that paragraph, put your finger on it, and then highlight the next to last sentence. It reads, an individual who has suffered a loss because of an antitrust violation can sue. Point is who did I say a moment ago is usually who pursues companies for antitrust? The government. But I created a scenario to show me, just a regular old knucklehead, perceiving some things. And I think, I'm going to go to government, right, these people. I'm going to sue Ace Hardware, Marvin's, Home Depot. So if it's not the guy, if it's an individual, I'm entitled to triple damages. Treble means triple. I'm entitled to 3 times the actual damages sustained. I don't know how I'm going to prove damages. That's the hard part. How do I prove I've been damaged? But regardless, I don't know if y'all remember the USFL, the United States Football League, Birmingham Stallions. The USFL sued the NFL because they thought that the NFL was putting pressure on the networks to not televise their games using their leverage. USFL won the lawsuit, but they won $1 in damages. At the bottom of page 130, 125, you see professional organizations and ethics. They're talking about primarily the realtor organization. Like I said, when you become licensed, it will become your choice to become a realtor or not. Your choice will be helped if you decide to work for a company that's a member of the realtor organization, because at that point, you don't have a choice. You must be a realtor. And to use the R logo and to be a member of the MLS, got to be a realtor. I am not a shill for the real estate organization, the realtor organization, but I'm not anti-realtor. But some people are very pro-realtor. Oh, for God's sakes, they're cheerleaders, for God's sakes. I'm all right. I appreciate the realtor organization, what they do, but again, I'm not the biggest fan. But here's how the realtor organization promotes their members to the public. Every now and then you'll see a TV show, commercial rather. I saw this not long ago. Realtors are not only governed by the law, but they're governed by a code of ethics. See, interestingly enough, you can do something that's not illegal, but it's horribly unethical. And you get away with it. So that's how the realtor tries to promote the public of the benefit of using a realtor versus a non-realtor. They say, hey, if you use a realtor, realtors are not only governed by the law, but also a very heavy blanket code of ethics. When you get licensed and get in the business, if you become a realtor, you will have code of ethic training. And, there's many areas of specialization. Some people in commercial real estate. Within commercial real estate, there's areas of specialization. Some people in commercial leasing, commercial management, commercial development. Some people in commercial real estate manage apartment complexes, manage malls, manage office complexes. Some people sell raw land in the country. Some people sell lofts downtown. So there is an organization within the realtor organization that you could become a member of that appealed to your area of specialization. You see a variety of them there. Some professional associations, all it takes is you got to pay them money every year, and you can call yourself a member of that organization. But a lot of these require additional training. Sometimes you'll see realtors' business cards, and they'll have a bunch of initials past their name, GRI, CRS, ABR. Those are just initials that if their colleagues see it, their colleagues understand those initials. And now I know that you've gone above and beyond in this particular area of specialization. So you should have a higher level of knowledge right there. To the consumer, they don't know what the hell those letters mean, but it looks fancy. I've been a member of 3, ABR, CRS, GRI, but to be fair to the world, I don't keep them on my business card anymore because I don't pay annual dues to those organizations. To be able to carry the designation, you have to continue to pay annual dues. They mention the ethics right there in the middle of the page. They continue to talk about the code of ethics at the bottom of the page. Read it if you want, not important for the exam. Right here on page 127, I just realized it's break time. I've got 7:05. Let's take a break until 7:20. All questions must be submitted in writing. Now, first of all, I never came over here. I'm running around like a kid with my head cut off. Yeah.
Is it just that extra protection in the fancy letter?
No, nothing. It feels like the one doctor is a member of AR, the retired people organization, AR. Yeah. And what is it? Don't let the world pretend exactly. Listen, I've been 20 years ago, both organizations had more of a purpose than it was a disseminator of information amongst practitioners. We don't need them now for that. We got the internet, news, TV, radio. And they do training for real. They do training. But now I'm not a real organization, so they don't need it. We don't need them for training. Really, the way we benefit from being realtors today are National Association of that equates to is they throw their way around and lobbying. And they try to lobby for things that are in the best interest of property owners, like tax benefits, And they try to lobby for things that are good for practitioners, Try to make things groovy for us and homeowners. That's the only value I see from the local job, is they throw their weight around in Washington. Like, you cannot be a true independent contractor and go to the same office every day. Because you're not anything. But guess what? We got real estate officers, we got a desk. So somebody challenged that. So the National Association of Realtors is throwing their weight around. Now the realtors have the special owned independent contractors.
One of the things you don't do okay, he has but I also want to option that it's on time here, consider life, pioneer. Your turn, you have to go to the sales or hearing to the property. For the $99, no, you need an attorney and not have a license and sell property. Like the probate, and you go to probate, you just want to sell property. Yeah, but like the owner pays the way that I was in the midterm. That's what I did too. Because when I had signed up for the online, I had signed up the first month was 75. I just and I just I can't say I don't know. I know it's all day. I'm scared.
I know, girl. You ain't coming right up. I'm taking my phone and like I was that phone cabinet, so crayon, it's
Yeah, I signed up, but I hope I don't run out. I need to tell someone, I need to take a quick move out next now.
when I started working at can see they like all this. It just like would tell you. I can see so well. So my eyes are very because you had to look at that. No.
You're really one of that?
Yeah, seriously. We'll go. Yeah. Yes.
I blame you for it. They look so good, I was like, I gotta live it. Yeah, okay, I was like, I like
That's what I keep saying. What is left for this
I think it is. My brother gets something rather than like stop so that I get out. Yeah.
All right, here we go, gang. Y'all ready? Okay, gang, we're on page 127. Technology in the real estate practice. So I told you earlier that when the assistant became the flavor of the month, oh my God. If you were a top producer, you almost had to have an assistant just for the perception, because now all the top producers had assistants, so you had to keep up with the Joneses. But regardless of why, it did lift that proverbial ceiling, allowing you to sell more real estate. And every small piece of technology that came about did so as well. My father owned his own real estate company, late 60s, throughout the 70s. He sold it in the mid-'80s to Johnson, Rice & Hayes, which doesn't exist anymore, but was a large company back then. And I'm shuffling through old pictures in a box. Y'all have heard me say that a few times. We used to do that every now and then. You get bored, get the old box out of the closet, shuffle through the old pictures. And I'm looking at a Christmas party, probably from 10 years before the picture was taken, and I'm rifling through early 70s. And, in the early 70s, everybody wore brown and green leisure suits, wide lapels, and it was like having a Christmas party in the picture, apparently, and they used to party in the 60s, lampshades over the head at the parties. But there was something that appeared to be a briefcase, but you could tell it wasn't. And it was on a table in the picture in the background. I was like, "What is that, Pops?" He said, "That's a pager." That was one of the original pagers, He said the original pager literally had a handle on it, like a tote, But he said the pager, that gave us about 3 or 4 extra hours a week. Because now I didn't have to go back to the office to find out who had called me. If you needed to call me, I could just swing over to a payphone, whatever. Then the fax machines came out. Some of y'all are too young to even remember a fax machine, let alone the early fax machines with the big roll of paper, and it was slick. And you would get a fax and all that ink smeared on the slick paper. Plus it'd be like lightning bolt creases through the paper. And that was how you received the offer. And then you wanted to take that slick paper and do a counter offer and then take that and refax it back. Oh my God, it was a nightmare. But regardless, even though it was in its infancy, the fax machine truly was the first gift from God as far as saving time and creating more time, because now you didn't have to go here to pick this up and go here to pick that up and go here to pick that up and go here to pick that up. Here's something before I continue on my little war stories. Up here, top of page 127. Not the top, but look at the third paragraph from the top of the page. It's actually the first paragraph under technology and real estate practice. Go to the 6th line into that paragraph and highlight the italicized a blanket opt-out option provision. Here's what that's talking about. Let's say I'm a brand new company. I'm a top producer at Red Apple Real Estate. My ego gets involved. I leave Red Apple Real Estate. I start Mark Yarbrough Real Estate. The only problem is to get your phone ringing in the real estate business, you need signs in yards. Well, I'm a new company. I got no listings, so my phone's sitting there not ringing. I can take listings from the MLS platform, rip them, if you will, and drop them in my website. Okay? I can't deceive anyone and suggest that they're my listings, but what is the purpose of MLS? Sharing information to facilitate the cooperating of brokers. So I can share a listing from the MLS, drop it on my website. It'll have the MLS number and the information. But what does it do? It enables my website to show up on a search. If someone's looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in the Smith School District, and mine happens to be in that, and I got that listing, even though it's not my company's listing, but I got it on my website, I might show up as one of the search option results. But if I'm a company and I don't want any other people sharing my listings in such a way, I would choose the blanket opt-out provision. This provides that those MLS participants are interested in keeping their listings from competitors' websites. Okay? A blanket opt-out option. Believe it or not, sometimes when you take a listing, the owner of the property will ask you, don't put this in MLS. Sometimes an owner of property will ask you to sell their property and they'll say, do not put a sign in my yard. Keep this in your pocket. For whatever variety of weird reasons, there are some sellers who don't want other people to know in their neighborhood they're selling their home. I don't know why. But I could be anonymous and ask a company to keep me anonymous while trying to sell my property. I don't want it in the MLS. Don't want a sign in the yard. But at the bottom of the page, as you would imagine, smartphones, when cell phones, not just smartphones, when cell phones first came about, my gosh, that really, you would think it was bigger than the fax machine. I think the fax machine was bigger than the cell phone, but the cell phone really lengthened the day. And then you had the smart cell phone, gee whiz, that has changed the world, as we all know. I mean, you can do everything on a cell phone. I was telling somebody a story the other day. It might have been y'all. I was seeing a girl year 2000. And she got, I think it was one of the first digital cameras made. We still weren't taking pictures on phones yet. But this was the first digital camera. It took a floppy disk, for crying out loud. A camera took a floppy disk. And you could only put 4 pictures on it. And you just had to pop it in your computer at about 8 in the morning and come visit it about that evening. Because that's how long it took to upload those 4 pictures. It took hours. 4 pictures, by God. I'm in this transitional period where when I talk, I sound like I'm 90. It just so happens in the halfway point in my life is when all this technology came about. So I've got half my world there and half here. So, with cell phones and the internet, email and texting, gee whiz. And I hear people complain, damn realtors won't answer their phone. You're not going to either. Okay? You're not going to either. First of all, we know that 50% of calls are junk. And you may not be stricken with the affliction I've got, the ADHD, but the phone, if your phone's going crazy, you can't maintain a train of thought, a conversation. I was sitting here thinking of who I had to call. Now my phone's ringing. It'll drive you crazy. So I tell people in post-license rookies, I say, your outgoing voice message will say, it is impossible for me to answer the phone every time it rings. I return calls twice a day. I return them at 11 a.m. and I return them at 5 p.m. Please leave a message. And then you stick to that schedule. You return your calls, whatever the 2 times you are. But you cannot answer the phone. You will not answer the phone. Social media, gee whiz, guys. In my day, you took a listing. There used to be an unwritten rule, sometimes written rule, that a company would pay for your first ad in the paper when you got a listing. But every other ad beyond the first one, you had to pay out of your money. So, by the time a listing is 2 months old, I got $1,000 invested in this listing. I got a little 2x2 ad in a Sunday paper. Maybe I got a Thursday paper too. Maybe a Wednesday. Wednesdays and Sundays were the biggest. Sometimes they give you a deal on a Saturday. We'd put ads in the little wire rack books you used to see in convenience stores. We had a lot of money in listings. But you cats, now you got social media. You got the Instagram, Facebook. You can advertise for free. And if you choose to do paid social media advertising, it's not terribly expensive, not compared to old school advertising. We do heavy social media advertising. Do y'all see my ads a lot? A lot or just a little? I spend about anywhere from $500 to $1,000. More often than not, my ad bill from Facebook is about $500-600. But sometimes I'll double up and spend about $1,000. And guys, again, I don't know your experiences in business, but that's not terribly expensive, especially if your volume justifies it. Electronic contracting, this is the world you're coming into, but I have been involved in the transition where we have gone from handwriting manually purchase agreements to now you fill the purchase agreements fields out online, then you email it. Used to, we would write with a pen, and then we would scan or deliver it. And then we even got to the point where we were scanning it, and then they would receive it and cross-crop out an initial on the counter offer. They'd send the counter back to us, and maybe we didn't like that. So we'd cross theirs out, put our initials in. And sometimes when something was bouncing back and forth many times, you couldn't read the contract because now people are writing down the sides, and writing on right here and flipping it over, continued on the back, and writing on the back. It was ridiculous. So now you can compose the offer digitally, electronically, and then email it, and then they can make a counter offer digitally, electronically, send you, and it doesn't get printed out until the contract has been created. So you don't have this contract with all this handwriting that you can't read and smudges and written around the edges and on the back. And I would imagine there are still some old timers still doing manual contracts, but I'm going to think that 90% of the real estate community has transitioned and are all doing electronic contracts. So turn the page. A bunch of answers to questions on the exam on page 130. So, guys, we're salespeople, and we like to market. We like to advertise. Sometimes we like to cold call. So this is a page that addresses our marketing efforts, what we can do, what we can't do. So at the top, that top paragraph talks about the do not call registry. I want you to know 3 things. You're going to write these 3 things in the left-hand margin. The do not call registry was a big deal during landline days. And every January, you would go to the FTC's website, the Federal Trade Commission. You would put all your phone numbers, list them that you didn't want anybody calling. So if somebody called you, like a heating and air company or an electrician or, somebody doing a sales call, if you're on the do not call list and they called you and you called the Federal Trade Commission and file a complaint, blah, 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 they could get penalized $10,000 per instance. There are still some realtors that do cold calling. I would say the majority don't. But regardless of what you're going to do or what you're not going to do or what's currently being done, you're going to need to know 3 things about the National Do Not Call List. 3 bullets in the left-hand margin. Number 1, the first bullet, just write FTC. See, what if I do regular telemarketing? I have a heating and air company, and we have a solicitation that we do in March and April saying, hey, we'll come in and do a free evaluation on your heating and air before the summer kicks in. And that's how they get their foot in the door, right? They come in there to give you the free, but now they got a report, they got your email address, they send in your emails, they might pick up something that needs fixed and get a job. So if I'm going to do regular, ongoing telemarketing, I don't want to be in trouble with the federal government by violating a do not call list. So I would purchase the do not call list, have the do not call list run through my database to take those out. so I don't get in trouble. So one of the things you may be asked, what is the source of the do not call list? The Federal Trade Commission. That's why I asked you to write FTC. So if they ask you, what is the source of the do not call list? The FTC or the Federal Trade Commission. I don't know if you know this, but this is a government entity, but they are an advocate for the consumer. So anytime as a consumer, you feel like there's a conspiracy, antitrust, you feel like you've been done wrong, the FTC is always a source that you can go to. So that's the first bullet. The second bullet of your 3 bullets, just write 31 days. Again, if I'm doing regular, ongoing telemarketing, then they want me to update the list every month. And how long is a month? 31 days. So that way, if somebody came in the middle of April and added their name to the do not call list, every 31 days, when I get my new do not call list, I'll get this new person that was added. And then the third bullet, write 18 months. I'll explain this, and you'll understand it when you're outside of class and you glance at the 18 months. Let's say I got a Capital One card, and I'm in Arby's with my old lady on Valentine's Day, and they reject my card. And this is the 5th time in the last 2 weeks that Capital One has declined my charge, and they're embarrassing me in public situations. I call Capital One up. I say, I'm sending a check to pay you off, and I'm going to cut my card up. Go away. Anybody I've had a business relationship with, if I end the relationship, they can continue telemarketing me 18 months from that most recent activity. Okay? So I use Capital One as an example. I call them, I cut them out of my life. They can continue telemarketing me 18 months from that most recent activity. So you just got 3 possible answers. Federal Trade Commission, the source of the list, update it monthly, and then the 18-month rule. Come down to the 5th paragraph. The 5th paragraph begins with the word similar. But on the 3rd line of that paragraph, go to the middle of the line and highlight FCC prohibit most unsolicited fax advertisements. FCC prohibit most unsolicited fax advertisements. First of all, this is slightly wrong. Unsolicited fax advertisements are in fact illegal. You want to know why they're illegal? God, you young cats take so much for granted. You know, our long distance bill, they used to charge us by the minute. And that's why when you were on the phone with your grandma, your parents were over your shoulder saying, get the hell off the phone. You had to say what you had to say in just a couple of minutes because it was pricey. And the first cell phones charged you for every minute. You would get a bill, man, it'd be 5 pages, every damn call you made. It was ridiculous. So what if I'm getting a unsolicited fax from a long distance source? Do you know what? Often I would have to pay for the minutes that it took that fax to come through. It would show up on my bill, which is the reason unsolicited faxes became illegal. I'm told by students that everything I'm telling you is on the exam. And then the next to last paragraph, within that paragraph, highlight Can Spam Act. Can Spam Act. Some people think that spamming is illegal. It is not. Where? Spamming is not illegal. But you need to know 2 bullets for Can Spam Act. The first bullet, write unsubscribe/opt-out. Every email I send has to have an easily findable unsubscribe, sometimes called opt-out ability. So that's one of the 2 things. The second thing is write 10 days. I'll explain. 10 days is your second bullet. So if somebody opts out after I send them an email, and I send them the email on Tuesday, I accidentally send them one on Thursday, the government's going to give me a break because that's only 2 days. They give me 10 days to get an opt-out out of my database. All right, now we are on page 131, and this is our 15 minutes. But before you do this, I'm going to go over question number 14 with you. No, I don't. I want in my class, if after this 15 minutes, we're going to take a break. The timing is perfect. And when we come back from break, I want to know in my class who understood 14. You satellite and virtual students can play along. You can let me know in the chat box if, hey, I got that. I understood it. It's something that most people don't understand, so I'm going to let it be a challenge. So on page 131, let's let our 15 minutes begin. All right, I've had my 15 minutes. You're welcome to continue doing what you are doing if you're not through or would like to spend some more time. But if not, it's break time. This will be our last break of the evening, and I have 7:57, so we're going to break until 8:12. See y'all back then. You need to read the news, this cause.
You talking about Skittles?
I was kidding, but yeah, I did hear that last year.
Are you subtracting the 75 from the 25? That gives you 5,000. To get your 40%. Subtract the 7,500 from the 25.
From the 25.
That gives you 5,000. So take the 40% off that 5,000. Because that's the difference. Because you're going from 2,500 is the first one, and you're going from 2,500 to 7,500.
Okay, it says plus 500 plus 5,000, I give you 7,500. But now how do we get the 2,000?
That's what comes from the 5,000.
Okay,
See, the 7,500 up to 7,500, from 2,500 to
Yeah.
7,500 is 5,000.
it's 5,000.
Take
Okay,
40% from that 5,000, and that's your 2,000.
I got you.
And then 7,500 minus whatever it was, the 15,000, that gives you the other number. And then you'll do your 50% from that. And then add all three numbers together.
And why?
You just don't put it, okay, don't make it.
Yeah.
That's exactly that.
That number is 5,000.
So you have to take that out of the 40%. Yeah. Then you get the 2,000. And then you gotta come back and do the third one. By the 30 that's a big one.
But
And then you add all
Nice time in the one part. Okay, gang. Hopefully all the Solid students are back from break as break expires. So they want to do number 14. Who in my office figured 14 out? Anybody else? 2 of you. Yay. All right. Here we go. Let's do 14. First of all, I'm going to give you an example on 14. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to give you an analogy, and I'm not going to tell you how to work it out. But based on my analogy, I want you to absorb what I'm saying and then see if you can work it out. Let's say I needed an attorney. And so I call an attorney and we set an appointment and I got to meet him. I say, how much do you charge for your service? He says, well, Mr. Yarborough, for 1 through 5, for the first hour through the 5th hour, I charge $300 an hour. From the 6th through the 10th hour, the 6th hour, the 7th hour, the 8th hour, the 9th hour, and the 10th hour, I only charge $200 an hour. And then for every hour above 10 hours, I charge $100 an hour. So let's say the man provided me 12 hours of legal services. The first 1 through 5 times 300, I got $1,500 I owe them for the first 5 hours. Do you see that? 6 through 10, the next 5 hours were 200. So 5 times 200 is 1,000. And there's only 2, right, above 10. And those are $100 a piece. So that would be $200. Y'all see that? So when I'm going to cut him a check, I'm going to cut him a check for $2,700. Y'all see that? But if you need to take a phone picture of it, do so, because I want you to take that analogy and see if you can take it and see how to figure the question out. And then next time we meet, I'll show you how I did it. But once you see this in that test question, you'll be like, oh, gee whiz, I see that. My God, it's ridiculously easy. But hey, feel normal that question right there befuddles everybody. So here we go. Let's move on to chapters 10. Again, realize, gang, I'm going to go ahead and share something with you that I might not have shared yet. 3 subjects in this 10-week course make up 65% of the exam. This is one of them. Chapters 8, 9, and 10 are in the subject of agency. Agency, contracts, and contracts is what we're going to cover. Is it tomorrow? Is the midterm Tuesday? Yeah. 1 through 10. This coming Tuesday. All right, so what are we talking about?
65% of the exam.
Yeah. Let me finish my train. Y'all know I got the affliction. I got to stay on point. I forgot what the hell I was talking about. Oh, yeah. 3 biggest subjects. Agency, contracts, and Alabama license law. You haven't had contracts yet. You haven't had Alabama license law yet. You will have all of those after the midterm. Let me look at something real quick. You got me. The midterm is not Tuesday.
Yeah,
13. It don't have to be.
but you know,
You got a sheet you're looking at?
there's a sheet, yeah.
All right, hang on, students. I'm not calling you a liar. I just need to see something. What's up? What's tonight?
6.
Oh, see, here's my mistake. I keep thinking it's Wednesday night. Never mind. That's my bad. I got the ADD and I got the old people affliction. I got them both hitting me right and left. My bad, y'all. Tomorrow night, we do chapters 11 on contracts. So on the midterm, you will have covered 2 of the 3 biggest subjects on the state exam, contracts and agency. Think about it. There's a reason these 3 are the biggest. We need to know the law. Contracts are one thing we're going to be involved in coming out of the gate. And agency relationships are one thing we're going to be involved with coming out of the gate. There's a reason those three subjects are the biggest. So 8, 9, and 10, these are big subjects on the state exam, midterm, final, all of the above. It is Tuesday. Yeah, earlier I was thinking tonight was Wednesday, and that was screwing my thinking up. I was like, oh my God, when am I going to get chapter 11 in? Tomorrow night we do chapter 11. Then Tuesday, the midterms 1 through 11. And guys, Friday, on Friday, on our recap email, we're going to send you 50 sample questions. Okay, so you can see the degree of difficulty. You can get an idea as a student what you're preparing for. So here we are, chapters 10. Our learning objectives right here on page 159. Describe the different types of listing agreements and how they may be terminated. We're going to describe the listing presentation and the info needed. We're going to talk about the listing agreement terms and the responsibilities of the parties within that agreement. And then we'll talk about buyer agency agreements as well. So let's turn the page. Guys, in my day when I came up, we did not have exclusive agreements with buyers. We did have exclusive agreements with sellers. And if you're wondering, what does exclusive mean? Think of your relationships. You know what the hell exclusive means. It's a lot better than open, ain't it? You know, so there's some freaks that like open, you know. But we all want exclusivity. So we always had exclusive agreements with sellers, but we didn't have exclusive agreements with buyers. Because when I came into the business up until 1996, buyers could not be clients. They could only be customers. We had that taught. So you could spend 2 or 3 weeks showing a buyer couple homes. And then you tell your buyer couple, hey, y'all, I'm going to take my family down to the beach for a little 3-day mini vacay. I'll be back on Monday and I'll reach out to you. So I get back on Monday and I say, hey, we're back from the beach, got a little sunburn. Y'all want to go tomorrow, start looking at some more properties? And they go, oh, Mark, while you were going to the beach, we went in an open house on Sunday and we bought it from the agent in the open house. And you're like, are you kidding me? The 6 weeks I had invested in this buyer flushed down the toilet. There was no exclusivity. So again, you know, we had this conversation last week. Everything gets better over time. Our industry evolved over time. And in the mid-90s, we not only felt the importance of a buyer having the ability to hire an agent to represent them, but we felt the need to create an exclusive agreement because I didn't want to go into a working relationship with the fear that my efforts are not going to come to fruition. So here we are on page 160, and we're going to talk about the 4 types of listing agreements. You will notice, guys, that out of habit, I put everything into a list. Why? The brain learns better from lists. So if you know there's 4 types of listing agreements, and you can number them 1, 2, 3, 4, your brain, it helps sort, categorize information. It helps the learning. So number 1. The exclusive right to sell. Y'all know I like to teach with totem pole, so that's at the top of the totem pole. The irony is even though we're about to talk about the 4 types of listing agreements, your company's only going to allow you to take one of these 4. And this is the one I'm about to describe to you. The exclusive right to sell is the most desired, and it's very simple, guys. At the listing presentation, we fill the agreement out. First of all, the law requires that it have a beginning date and an ending date. Can't be left open. And the law will not allow automatic renewal clauses. I don't know if you can imagine what that is, but I may have a clause in the listing agreement that tells the seller, if I haven't helped you sell your home in this listing period, when it expires, it will renew for an additional 2 months. You know, kind of like a lease. Have you ever seen a lease? You know, my lease is up May 31, but if they don't receive 30 days notice, it will renew for an additional, kind of like that. So it's got to have a beginning, got to have an ending, and no automatic renewals. That's very easy to remember, and you're going to need to know both of those facts. And the moment the seller puts their John Hancock at the bottom of that exclusive right to sell agreement, if the property sells during the listing period, the listing company is entitled to a commission, no questions asked. I don't care if the owner of the property's mama buys the house. I'm getting a commission. It's that simple. Don't let the nerds suggest with their nerd words that it's more than what I just told you, because it ain't. So that's clean. We got that. Let's go down to the next one, coming down the totem pole. The exclusive agency listing. So we see automatically right off the bat, we ain't got the words right to sell. Well, if you'll pause for a second. An exclusive agency listing is identical to the exclusive right to sell. I mean identical, with one asterisk, one exception. And it is written in italics on the second line. You can highlight it. But the seller retains the right to sell the property without the obligation to pay the broker. I'll give you an example. Let's say a woman calls me, Miss Henderson. She says, Mark, how's you and your family? I said, they're doing fine. And how's you and yours? She says, they're doing fine, Mark. Thank you for asking. She says, I retired last year from teaching. And, I've had these sinuses and asthma my whole life. And my sister and brother-in-law moved out there to Scottsdale, Arizona. And they told me that dry air out there is perfect for people with my condition. So I'm going to sell my house, Mark, and I wanted to call you to see if you could help me sell it. And I said, man, Miss Henderson, that's what I do. So I get my stuff. I go see Miss Henderson. I'm sitting in the living room, and we fill out an exclusive agency listing. Don't worry about why. So I put the sign up, put it in the MLS. I start marketing the property. 2 months into the 6-month listing, Miss Henderson calls me. She says, Mark, how are you and yours? I said, they're fine. Hope you and yours are too. She said, they are. She said, I hate to make this call because you're such a fine young man and I know you've been trying hard. But she said, I got to talking to my sister and my brother-in-law and I thought, what if I get out there and I don't like it? So I got to talking to my son who owns a hardware store here in town. You know Michael, don't you, Mark? I said, I do know Michael. He's going to buy the property from me, and he'll use it as a rental property. And that way, if I decide to come back, I'll have my house for me. But thank you so much for all you did. That was so sweet. I don't get a commission because you see what you highlighted? The seller retains the right to sell the property and not owe a commission. That's the scenario I just painted. Now, in reality, I can tell you why the law invented this listing. Guys, they're for sale by owners. And you know what for sale by owners are? Low fruit to a salesman. A salesman walking around needing to pay bills, wondering, I need a listing. I wonder who wants to sell their house. The damn dude with a for sale by owner sign. That's low fruit. Go pick it. So not all realtors call them for sale by owners, just the one that know how to sell. And most realtors, if you think you can sell, man, you're going to be in nirvana. Because most realtors that you're going to be competing with couldn't sell water to a man on fire. You know what they are? They're chauffeurs who tote people around and point at crap. Here's the kitchen, they say. Don't you ever say that. I promise they know. I promise you. But that's all they do. Here's the kitchen. Here's the half bath. Isn't that cute? And they just wait for you to pull the trigger. So, to call on a for sale by owner, you got to have some skills. So, for sale by owner, and I pull over in the rearview mirror, I get my tile stitched up. I go knock on the door. Man comes to the door. Let's say it's Miss Henderson. And I say, Miss Henderson, you know damn well I can do a better job than you selling this house. I know you're probably trying to save some money, and I know you got good intentions, and I know you as a woman, you mean well. But let's be real. If you want a realistic shot at selling this house and making some money, I can actually show you how you'll make more money utilizing me than you will as a for sale by owner. Y'all are thinking, I want to hear that, don't you? But that's just part of the story. So Ms. Henderson says, you know what? Timing is everything, Mark. I've had that for sale by owner sign in that yard 3 months. I'm tired of getting asked questions I don't know the answer to. I'm tired of cleaning the house from top to bottom because people are saying they're going to come Saturday to see it and they don't. So time is everything. I think I'll do this with you, Mark. I get a little internal smile. We start filling out the paperwork. And when we get down to the bottom, I say, Miss Henderson, put your John Hancock right down there so I can hustle to the office and commence to working for you. And she says, oh, Mark, I just thought, before I sign this, my son has told me he might want to buy it for a rental property. He's not sure yet, but he's thinking on it. If he wants to buy it, can you exclude that scenario from me owing you a commission? I say, absolutely. And I put his name in the listing agreement as an exclusion. So do y'all see how you would practically utilize such an agreement? So here we are at the top of page 161, open listing. Again, here's my scenario. I'm driving down the road for sale by owner. I pull over. That's low fruit. Again, rearview mirror. I'll make sure I get up. I go knock on the door. They come to the door. I ease into my little soft shoe number, my spiel. And it's a man this time. And he says basically what Miss Henderson says, you know, timing is everything, Mr. Yarbrough. Right now, I'm financially embarrassed, and I really need to sell this house myself to avoid paying a commission so I can get back on top. Life has thrown me a financial curveball. But gee whiz, I'm tired of getting asked questions I don't know the answer to, all of that. So we start filling out the paperwork. We get down to the bottom where he's going to put a John Hancock. And he goes, hold up, Mr. Yarbrough, before I commit. He said, let me tell you, my ex-wife is my best friend. It's very strange. We thick as thieves as friends, but we couldn't get along as husband and wife. And, you know, bonus every now and then. But he said, she used to be a realtor down there in Florida. And she told me that there is such a thing as an open listing. Is she right? I said, she's right. So I'm trying to recall. I think she said on an open listing that I could allow you to put a sign in my yard and commence to trying to sell my house. But the only instance that I'll owe you a commission is if you're the one that physically brings me an offer that I accept. That if I continue to try to sell it myself, or if any other agent brings me an offer that I accept, I don't owe you a commission. Is she right? I said, she's right on the money. It's exactly what an open listing is. I'd be willing to do that with you. Immediately, internally, I'm dejected. That's not what I was aiming for. But they say something better than nothing, right? So I put a little sign up. Week goes by. He's sitting in church waiting on preaching to get started, talking to Regina in the pew behind him. He's saying, I cannot sell my house to save my life. I didn't think it was going to be this difficult. And I've been having a hard time, but I met this sharp man last week. Shoot, I thought he was going to handle it. But I ain't seen him since he walked out my front porch. She said, you need to handle this in a professional way. You need a top producer, and that's my friend Linda. She works down there at Tall Mountain Real Estate. He says, have you got her number? And so I get a number, and I call Linda, and I say, will you meet me at the Quincy's after church? We meet in the back booth at Quincy's, and I sign an exclusive right to sell listing agreement with Linda. 4 days later, I call him up. I say, guess what I'm holding in my hand right now? He says, what? I said, a full price unconditional offer from a ready, willing, and able buyer. He says, why are you still on the damn phone? I get in the car. I go see him. And in the living room, he puts his John Hancock down there at the bottom. Stop. Process. Do you know that this man has unwittingly painted himself in the corner? That he now owes 2 commissions. He owns one to Linda by virtue of the definition. If it sells to anybody, it doesn't matter. and he owes me one by definition of an open listing, correct? You will have that very scenario that I just posed. Like I said, I get scenarios from students that are taking the exam, and I country them up, but essentially it's the same scenario I'm being told. So in that one single solitary question, they challenged your knowledge of the 4 types of listing agreements. So a net listing, just write illegal. When in the hell did y'all think breaking the law was funny? What is wrong with y'all? No, here's why net listing is illegal. A woman who, I'm thinking of Green Springs Avenue. She got a home on a damn 6-lane road through town. There's a lot of homes like that. There were 2-lane roads back in the 50s, but now they're big and you on the side of it. Well, she calls me. Mr. Yob, I need to sell my house, and I've heard I can't go wrong with you. So I'll go see the woman. And we get to the point, I asked her, I said, what do you think your house is worth? I think it's probably worth 150. And I said, what makes you think that? She said, every house around me that's similar to mine has been selling for 150. I say, then that's probably a safe guess on your part. So I put down, I'm going to sell it for listed at 150. And then we get down to where my commission, she said, Mr. Yob, how much are you going to charge me? 5%, 6%, 7%, like all them other companies? I said, no, I'm a little different. I said, I'm very cocky. I'm very good at what I do. My commission will be whatever over and above 150 that I sell it for. She says, are you trying to say this is a no-lose situation for me? That I can get the full market value for my property and you only keep what you might have sold it for over that? I said, that's right. So if you sell it for 151, all you makes 1,000. I said, that's right. She said, if you sell it for 150 or below, you make nothing. I said, that's right. She says, where do I sign? But see, I'm in the real estate business. She isn't. I keep my ear to the ground. I'm aware of the fact that this residential street she's on now is going to be rezoned commercial within the next 6 months. And I met a CVS rep at a cocktail party a couple of months ago, and they want a spot on that damn street the minute it gets rezoned. So I sell her home to CVS for $225,000. Do you see now, a net listing is illegal because like a snake oil salesman, I can present it as though it's advantageous to you. When in fact, what I'm doing is taking advantage of something you're not aware of that I am aware of. So the net listing, what makes it illegal is when you can't quantify the commission. You know, it's not expressed as a percent of the sales price or a flat fee. It's a question mark. Who knows what it's going to be? Okay, so the second half of the page is redundant. We've been talking about MLS. We've been talking about co-oping. So let's turn to page 162. A seller representation agreement, guys, is called a listing agreement. Okay, but it's an agreement where we represent the seller. But the slang term is listing agreement. So the question is, how can this agreement go away? I think we've already had this conversation, something similar to it. Look at the bullets. The first bullet says, I did what they hired me to do. I fulfilled the agreement. I helped them buy a house or I helped them sell a house. That's a reasonable reason why that agreement's going to go away. What they hired me for has been took care of. Second bullet says, the agreement expires. The next bullet says, what I was hired to sell no longer exists. Next bullet says, something happened during the listing. The owner of the property fell into bankruptcy, fell into foreclosure. Now we got a convoluted situation and I'm all up in there. So I can walk away because now some other stuff's happening. The next one, broker and seller mutually agree to cancel the agreement. Didn't we talk about this? Yeah, we did, didn't we? So expiration of the listing period, bottom of page 162. Visit real quickly to the top of page 163, and on the second line in italics, highlight automatic extension clause because we just discussed them. They are illegal. Guys, don't get me wrong. you will list a property and it will sit on the market for the entire listing period and you won't sell it. Can you ask them for a new listing agreement? Absolutely. You just can't have automatic renewal clauses built in. So sometimes you'll see a listing for 6 months and then the sign will go away for 3 or 4 days and it'll come right down back. Second paragraph, highlight broker protection clause. It is self-explanatory in that it does protect the broker. Here's a story. Let's say I have a listing, a 6-month listing agreement. And here it is the day before the listing expires. And I'm disappointed in myself. I haven't sold this house. And it's a good-looking house. And it's in a good-looking neighborhood. And the market's very healthy. So I'm disappointed in myself. I'm trying to sit down and figure out what I didn't do right, what I could have done that I didn't do. And right then the phone rings and somebody's wanting to see the house. I'm like, somebody up there looking out for old boy. So I tell them, meet me at the property. I show it to them that early evening and they're just, it's taking their breath away. They can hardly breathe and talk. I say, y'all like this house. I can see it written all over you. They said, my God, we can't imagine why somebody would want to sell this. And I say, well, wouldn't you hate to find out it got sold tomorrow? Oh my God, we need to tie it down. Let's sit at the kitchen table. By writing an offer, we can take this off the market, so to speak, kind of, sort of, put a bookmark right there. And they say, oh my God, Mr. Yo, we can't tonight. If we were to buy this house, we're going to have to relocate our kids' school, take them out of this current school district, put them in there. Let us break it to them tonight at dinner. And then tomorrow we'll call you. And I'm thinking, oh God, tomorrow's the last day. I said, okay. So they tell their kids at dinner that night, their kids don't give a damn. They hate their school. So the next day, the couple is in Publix. They're in the produce section, poking on stuff, smelling stuff. And they see the owners of the property in the produce section. They're not friends with them, but they're acquaintances. Their daughters are in the same Girl Scout troop. They met them at a spaghetti dinner 2 months ago. So they approach the owners. Hey, you remember us? Our daughter's in the same. Yay, we saw your house yesterday. In fact, as soon as we get to the house, put the groceries up, we're going to make an offer on your house. And the husband grabs the other husband by the wrist and says, I know the hell you are. Wait 2 more days before you write me an offer. What are they trying to do? Cut you out of the deal. Because if they ain't got to pay a 6% commission or 7% or 5%, whatever it is, there's some wiggle room. The broker protection clause is a period of time, it's negotiable, that piggybacks the listing period. Kind of like a cowboy on a horse. The horse is the listing period. The cowboy is the broker protection period. I told you the broker protection period is negotiable, but I'll use a 30-day instance. I may put a 30-day broker protection clause that basically tells the owner of the property, if you sell this property to someone during the broker protection period that was introduced to the property during the listing period, you're going to still owe me a commission. So again, it is self-explanatory in that it protects the broker from getting cut out of the deal. Moving down, the listing presentation. This is certainly something you're going to want to learn when you get in the business. There's really no right way or wrong way to do it. Every salesman's different. Some salesmen are just kind of country small talkers. Some salesmen very technical and they use very nerd marketing word. We're going to help you do that. I'm not going to say one's right or one's wrong. Whatever works for you. And if whatever works for you makes you money and happy, then keep doing it. But the point is I have known a variety. I've seen a variety of listing presentations. I have a friend in Atlanta. He's my age. I have a huge boy crush on him. We've been good friends for 25 years, but he is so good at what he does. I'm just really jealous. He's a funny guy, and he's so dynamic as a salesperson, but he's technology savvy. You don't find many cats my age. I mean, he goes into a listing presentation, sets up a projector. He's got an app on his phone that controls the projector, and all of a sudden, boom, you got bar graphs, pie charts, demographics, absorption rates, all kind of fancy statistics. The schools, the teacher to student ratio, my God. Very impressive. But then I know a lot of country folk, and they'll just go into a living room and have small talk. You went to high school with him? He's crazy. Oh my God, I haven't seen him in so long. How is he? And then after about 30 minutes of small talk, you just put, let's just get this damn paperwork done. Now, I'm not saying one's right and one's wrong, but I don't think they have to have a technical presentation, and I do think they deserve more than small talk. So somewhere right in the middle. I don't think you need to memorize your presentation like an actor would memorize a script. My entire career was a checklist-driven person. I'm a checklist-driven person by nature every day of my life. A checklist is just a damn to-do list. I mean, it sounds fancier than a to-do list, but I'm a checklist. When I would go in, it would say, walk through the house and compliment them on how they designed it. Give the kids noogies. Pet the dog's head. Accept offered coffee. It was just a damn bulleted list of things I wanted to do and in the order I wanted to do it. But a part of prior to going on a listing presentation, after taking a listing, your first significant task at hand is to arrive at a competitive asking price. And guys, you can price a property $500 too high and it sit on the market for 6 months and not sell. Had you priced it $500 less, you'd have sold it in 30 days. And some of y'all are listening to me saying, Mark, you're just exaggerating to make a point. I am not. When you're in the grocery store and you see two bins of apples right beside each other, and they both look like the same kind of apple, they're both red, pretty, shiny. Ones are 25 cents an apple, ones are 24 cents an apple. You don't even hesitate, do you? You load up with the 24 cents, don't you? And that's the way people look at real estate. If your house is 150, but there's a house competing with you in the neighborhood for 149.5, you might have just lost a sale over $500. So a CMA is a watered down version of what appraisers do. It's what me and you do. A real estate practitioner does a CMA to determine what the market bears, to determine what they're going to list the property for. And I don't want to get into post-license training, but let's say my CMA says $150,000. Sure, right now I'm deciding to list it at 150 until I drive around and look at my close by competition. Remember the bins of apples? So even though the CMA says 150, if there's a house 8 doors down that's the equivalent of mine, maybe even slightly better, and it's listed at 149, I'm not pricing it at 150, regardless of what the CMA says. I'm going to come in at 148,999. Back when I was in the game, I used to list with odd prices because we put our listings in the newspaper and the eye is drawn to something that is out of the ordinary. And most people would price round numbers, $149,500. I would always price mine $149,287.36.
So you don't have to always go to him.
No, I mean, you're the professional. I'm a doctor and I may run some tests on you, but there's not a definitive diagnosis. There's possibilities, and I make a decision using my discretion based on the information from the test. So it's kind of like that. The CMA will offer me fodder, will offer me data, will offer me information, but ultimately, using my discretion, I'm going to price it at what I want to price. And I just gave you an example of very nearby competition making me vary from what the CMA says. But just know, for test-taking purposes, that a CMA is performed by a real estate professional, and it is to help you arrive at your asking price. So over here on page 164, you see a bulleted list of all the information that you're going to typically need on a listing agreement. You guys are fortunate. More than likely, the company you go work for is going to have courthouse retrieval. I mean, I used to have to go to the courthouse once or twice a month. And I got good. I could work that fish machine like a DJ at a party. But now you guys, you got all that courthouse information at your fingertips. You got all this information. I remember one time a buddy of mine, Tim, I referenced him earlier, weirdly enough, took a listing, went to the husband and wife's home, gave his presentation, got husband and wife's signature on the listing agreement, put it in the MLS, got an offer from a couple. They accepted the offer. Then the buyers went and made application for their mortgage. And then the title search was performed. And in the title search, they determined that the husband and wife who signed the listing agreement were not the owners of the property. The husband was with two of his sisters. They had inherited it from their father. It's just that the sisters were allowing brother and sister-in-law to live in the home they own. So I've had people say, well, then why in the hell did the woman sign? Because they're lay people. And lay people follow our instructions. And when we say sign right here, you know what they do? They sign right there. I get tired of hearing real estate agents making fun of consumers. Can you believe they didn't know that? Man, I appreciate a certain level of ignorance in the community. What the hell role would I have if they knew all the answers? Sometimes you got to have a dose of humility poured over you. I don't know why sometimes I get upset. Sit right here. So, yeah, really all they do over the next few pages is go over the guts of the listing agreement. Right here on page 166 through the next 4 pages is an example of a listing agreement. It would not blow your mind as a student if you were to sit here and go through it. It has what you would imagine it has. But please kind of peruse it, skim it while you're studying. I don't think you need to memorize it, but just get the gist. And now we're over here on page 172. 172. Second half of the page, I want you to study. There's 4 different ways they could ask the same question or similar questions regarding the same data. Second half of page 172. If you're okay at math, you may read this and it may remind you of how to do that. And you may have no problem. If you look at it and it makes smoke come out of your ears, then those are just questions you're going to miss, period. Guys, as the time I've been doing this, I have never met somebody that made 100 on the exam. You're going to miss some damn questions. Point is don't get all riled up. Don't get intimidated. Don't get scared. Just look at that and go, I'll be damned. There's one of my 42. And then move on, man. Really, honestly, we're done with the chapter because when you turn to page 175, we talk about buyer agency agreements. And everything we talked about listing agreements applies to the buyer agreements. You got the 4 types, the buyer, exclusive buyer representation, blah, blah, blah. You even see an example of a buyer's agreement over the next few pages. So now we're at our last 15 minutes. I have 8:51. Guys, again, there is nothing the matter with using the exam as a... oh, gosh, we got to do this exam. I'm not going to leave this one up to you. Yeah, there's some in here that I want to. Just a couple. Now, I do want you to do it, but I'm going to do a couple of the math. Let's look at number 10. I'm on page 185, question number 10. A broker sold a property that was owned by a bank that had acquired it through foreclosure. The broker received a 6.5% commission. Then the broker took his 6.5% and cut $35.75 out of it to give to the sales associate. What was the selling price of the property? Well, guys, the answer is D. And don't mark it. I want you to try to figure it out. But I'm going to use this on purpose to work backwards. If I asked you, if we were talking about a property that sold for $183,333, and I told you the broker made a 6.5% commission, how much was that commission? You would do this. Wouldn't you? Am I wrong? Am I right? Okay, good. Where is my calculator? Here it is. So let's do that math. 183,333 times 6.5% equals $11,916.65. The broker gave the listing associate $35.75, which represented 30% of the firm's commission. Oh. You know what? I'm just now realizing something. Hold on. Yeah. And then if I did this times 35% or 30%, just bear with me, I would get $35.75. So we were able to determine what the salesperson made. But let's go backwards. See, some of y'all are going to laugh, but this is math I had to learn in order to teach this crowd. Let's go backwards. Let's start out at the $35.75. We're literally going to go backwards every step, but backwards. $35.75 is 30% of what? What do you do right there? You divide. See, some of y'all know that. I didn't. So $35.75 divided by 30% is 11,916. Well, 11,916 is 6.5% of the answer. So 11,916 divided by 6.5% is the answer of 183,333. So again, what I'm about to tell you is embarrassing to me. I knew this math my whole life. But then to go backwards and divide versus multiply was shocking to me. I was like, that's easy. I can do that. So there's going to be some questions where you got to go through the back door to see what the sales price is. And they'll give you the information to go backwards. Now, I don't know if y'all know this, but if you got the time and the inclination, do you see where you could have took those 4 answer choices and backed your way into the answer? You know, so you could do that. If this math is not normal to you, then just use all damn 4 answer choices. It just make you use a little more scratch paper is all. All right, real quick, let's do one more. Let's do question number 5. So, a broker sold a residence for $485, received a $26,675 as commission in accordance with the terms of the listing agreement. What was the broker's commission rate? Same thing. If the answer is B, but if I were to go down 485, well, let me just not confuse you. I'm just going to take the commission paid and go backwards. 26,675 divided by the sales price of 485. That's going to tell me the answer of B. Whereas, so using the divide sign to go backwards was new information to me as a 40-year-old. I understood the multiply to go down to get the small numbers, but I didn't understand how to take the small numbers and go up and back your way into the big number. Again, some of y'all think that's laughable because you're cool with math. I'm just not. So let's do our 15 minutes, guys. Go to page 182, spend 2 or 3 minutes reinforcing in your brain what the lecture said, and then take the 20-question quiz. my goodness.
So net listing is just insider trading for real estate,
I like that.
pretty much.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. All right. Okay, I got my 15 minutes. So, tie up your stuff, get it all ready. Moderators, let your students sign the roster, let them go home. Tomorrow night, chapter 11, and that'll be the last chapter, 1 through 11 is going to be on the midterm. Again, Friday, I'll remind you tomorrow, we're going to send you an email with 50 sample questions for the midterm. So y'all have a safe trip home. See y'all tomorrow night at 6 p.m. 100 questions on the midterm. Yeah, one of my students had that question.
Are we gonna come straight in that day and just take the test and then we leave when we get done? Or is there gonna be like a little review before we do the test?
It'll be a regular class. First of all, satellite students, as you pack up to leave, this will not be a webinar. Okay. The TV will be off. This is just your moderator handing you the test. So it's a regular class. 6, you come in at 6, you sit down, you get the exam, you leave when you're done.
Do we need to bring anything special? Calculator?
No.
Pencil?
Yeah, bring a calculator, a generic calculator. You're not going to be able to use your phone. Your phone will not be allowed to be near you. I'm going to go over some test taking tips tomorrow night, too. We'll see you tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Hey.
Life estate, if you see that life estate, if you give me property and you the owner, but you give it to me for life estate, then once I die, my life estate
Wouldn't be the owner. Let's say I own a property. I sell you a life estate. You get the deed. But it's only for your life.
Right.
You can't will it to.
Right.
Because I predetermined where it's going to go, either to
It's
me in
going
a
back
state
to you.
reversion or
Right.
someone else named the remainder. So what you got?
So I was looking at YouTube. And,
Yeah.
And man,
All right. Property owner, let me read it now. To his brother, for his brother's lifetime. This is that pure autry V. Okay? Pure autry V is Latin for the life of another. So let's say you're my grandmother and you're 93. And I deed you a life estate. No. Let's say you're my niece. It doesn't have to be family, it just usually is. You're my niece. And I deed you a life estate, but I don't base it on your life. I base it on my 93-year-old grandmother's life. It's still based on somebody's life, just not you. So look at here. If you can remember in that chapter, I don't even
I think it's
look in the index. Pure autry. How in the hell do they? Life estate. Let me just look that up. 34 and 36. Okay, pure autry V. A life estate may also be based on the lifetime of a person other than the life tenant. So I deed you a life estate. You're the life tenant, but I base it on my grandmother. When my grandmother passes away, your interest will either come to me or the remainder. So there could be a variety of reasons why you would do things within a family, you know. But just know that I could deed you a life estate. You be the life tenant, but it's not your life. It's some other person's. That's all I can explain.
I was just wondering because.
No. What you did was you picked up on something, and that shows the wheels are turning. You picked up on that, and most people who don't understand something, they just go, oh, I just don't understand that. I'll just ignore that and keep going. No, you said to hell with this. I thought I understood it. This don't make sense with what I understood. So that means the wheels are working. Trust your brain.